Hello everyone, my name is Chip. We're currently 6 months into 2020, which means...
3 months to go!
No, it means it's July, which means it's tax time here in Australia. Death and Taxes is a deck that's very close to my heart. I got really into Magic as I was leaving Yu-Gi-Oh! In Yu-Gi-Oh! I played a deck called Macro Lockdown, which worked by making our opponents play a fair game and adding additional costs to their cards. So the transition to Death and Taxes in Modern was easy. Death and Taxes functions typically as an anti-meta deck, historically using cards like Leonin Arbiter and Thalia Guardian of Thraben to punish players with greedy mana bases and slow them down. The deck used to win by aggressively beating down our opponents while they were restricted by all the red tape our little creatures could throw at them. However, modern decks are now more streamlined and have gotten less mana intensive for greater reward. In other words, the power creep is real. So while our taxes might stop our opponent from cracking that fetch land or make them play a board wipe a turn later than usual, they don't do anything against decks that spit out a bajillion power on turn 2. So is Taxes dead? If we look at the MTG Goldfish metagame list, we see the first Death and Taxes list plays 0.5% of the metagame. 0.5%. So at every 100-person event, this guy rocks up. Hello. If I end up like that, I hope I'm dead. Taxes is supposed to be an anti-meta deck with no 100% solved list. So if Thalia and Arbiter aren't pulling their weight anymore, maybe it's time to relegate them to the sideboard, or cut them all together. On that note, today we're playing an MTG Goldfish stock black-white Taxes list that's running a full playset of both. I'm using the stock list as a starting point for a few reasons. 1, just to test out the metagame. 2, brewing is hard. Alright, and here's the list. As you can see, we're only running 5 lands that don't produce coloured mana, so for a Death and Taxes deck, that's actually quite colour rich. We've got a full playset of Giver of Runes to help protect our other taxing creatures. We've got 4 Parts of Exile for removal, 4 Vial to flash creatures in, 4 Charming Prince, with Vial we can flicker our own creatures, and the Scry 2 helps fix our draws, 4 Leonin Arbiter, 4 Thalia Guardian of Thraben, because what's Taxes without them, and 4 Tidehollow Sculler. I've never played with these before, but I can imagine with Flicker Wisp and Wasteland Strangler, they're quite powerful. We're running the full playset of Flicker Wisp for flickering shenanigans, Wasteland Strangler to eat cards in exile and as another form of removal, and we're also running 2 copies of Loris of the Dream Den. I'm not sold on this one. While it's cute to bring back creatures that have died previously, I think you need Nihil Spellbomb, Mishra's Bauble, something to combo and just get more value out of the engine. Onto the sideboard, we've got 3 Burrington Forge Tenders for the red matchup, 2 Containment Priests, this is the reason I chose the deck because it has the Containment Priests in it, 2 Leonin Relic Warders to exile artifacts and enchantments, also combos with our Wasteland Strangler, 2 Plague Engineers for the tribal matchups, Gonti, Lord of Luxury, I don't know what this is for, Goblins maybe, Violet in response to the Snoop combo, but I don't see that working. The mana cost is very high. Who is this for? Kunaros, Hound of Athreos. We're running 2 of these. I don't like this card. I understand it shuts down graveyards. I don't see it being particularly helpful. 2 Phyrexian Revoker. I've always been skeptical about these, but I'm willing to give them a shot. And Spellskite. 1 Spellskite in the sideboard. I would honestly, given we're running the Giver of Runes, love to see the Spellskite in the main deck. You can redirect the spell that's targeting the Giver of Runes to the Spellskite and then protect the Spellskite. Helps keep your Giver of Runes around. Well anyway, that's the deck. Let's go to the games. We win the die roll. We're going to go first. Oh, this is an easy mull. We have the Thalia, but we have no Aether Vial. There's nothing interactive, so we're going to mull. Alright, we're going to keep this. Good 6. We're going to put back, I think it's Loris. It's too early for Loris. Well, we're going to lead on a Godless Shrine. Tapped. And pass. Our opponent plays a Shelldock Isle. Hideaway, so we're probably against Mill. And passes to us. We draw another Charming Prince. Okay. We play a Thalia, and we'll pass the turn. Opponent plays a Seachrome Coast, and passes to us. We'll run out the Tidehollow Scholar. Oh, it's Ad Nauseam. Okay. We can use this just to get removal. We're going to take the Pentad Prism, and we'll attack with Thalia. They take 2, and we pass the turn. They play a Dark Slick Shores, and they get a Wishclaw Talisman. Well, we'll swing at them for 4. They go down to 14. We run out the Leonin Arbiter, and we pass the turn. Opponent plays a Snow-Covered Swamp, plays a very expensive Pentad Prism, and a Serum Visions. And they pass the turn. We swing in for 6. They go down to 8. We run out our Charming Prince, exiling our Tidehollow Scholar, and then in the end step, Tidehollow Scholar comes back. We take their Angel's Grace, and hope that we can make them whiff for a turn. Our opponent pays to ignore Leonin Arbiter's effect, pays a Gemstone Mine, Activates Wishclaw Talisman, searching their library for a card. Phyrexian Unlife. Oh dear. If we draw a land, we can win. We draw a land. Well, we attack with 8. Our opponent goes to 0 life. We then cast a Flicker Wisp, target the Phyrexian Unlife, and we win. Alrighty, sideboarding, we're bringing in 3 Forge Tenders, 2 Phyrexian Revokers, 1 Krunos, Hound of Athreos, and we're going down all the Wasteland Stranglers and 2 Path to Exile. We get an opening hand with no Aether Vial but 2 sideboard cards, so we keep. They play a City of Brass and pass the turn. We draw a Ghost Quarter. We'll run out Concealed Courtyard and we'll pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Gemstone Mine, plays a Pentad Prism. We draw another Thalia, and we run out the Phyrexian Revoker, naming Pentad Prism. And we pass the turn. Our opponent misses a land drop and passes back to us. We run out our first Thalia, and we attack for 2. Our opponent goes down to 17. Our opponent pays the Serum Visions, and passes to us. And they scoop the match. Nice! We get a hand with a good curve and an Aether Vial, so we're going to keep. Our opponent's going to go first. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills and passes the turn. We start on a Concealed Courtyard and run out our Aether Vial. And we pass back. Our opponent cracks their Wooded Foothills, gets a Stomping Ground tapped, plays a Windswept Heath, and passes to us. Tick our Vial up to 1. We draw a Leonin Arbiter. We might wait, see if we can get them next turn. We play the Tidehollow Sculler. Oh, I see. They're a Blood Moon deck. Ponza, probably? What do we care about? Well, we'll take the Pillage, because that will destroy our Aether Vial. And we'll pass the turn there. They crack the Windswept Heath, get another Stomping Ground tapped. They play a Misty Rainforest, crack it straight away, get a Forest, and Blood Moon us. In their end step, we activate Aether Vial, putting in the Giver of Runes, and they pass the turn. I'm going to tick our Aether Vial up to 2, get another Tidehollow Sculler. We'll attack for 2, opponent goes down to 15, and then in their draw step, we will vial in a Tidehollow Sculler. They bolt the Giver of Runes. Giver of Runes will give the new Tidehollow Sculler protection from red. And we'll take their other pillage. Alright, they pass the turn. We are going to tick the vial up to 3. This way, if they play a creature, we can Wasteland Strangler and get rid of the pillage. Draw a Ghost Quarter. Well, we're just going to attack for 4. Opponent goes down to 11, and we'll pass the turn there. Our opponent casts the Seasoned Pyromancer. They discard the Blood Moon and a Scavenging Ooze, and they play a Wooded Foothills. In their end step, we activate the Aether Vial, put a Wasteland Strangler into play, and we kill the Seasoned Pyromancer. Keep our Vial on 3, Path to Exile. Play the Ghost Quarter, and we'll swing in for 5. Opponent double blocks the Wasteland Strangler. I think we're actually going to let that go. Opponent goes down to 9, and we pass the turn. Opponent casts the Bloodbraid Elf and cascades to a Bone Crusher Giant. They stomp the Tidehollow Sculler. Aether Vial's the only way we're staying in this game. We activate our Aether Vial, put the Wasteland Strangler into play, target our own Tidehollow Sculler with Wasteland Strangler's ability, throw pillage into their graveyard so it won't return to their hand. This also means Stomp gets countered and doesn't go on an adventure, and our opponent's left with just a Bloodbraid. Flicker Wisp. Well, we'll attack our opponent for 5. They block the Wasteland Strangler. We let our Wasteland Strangler die. They go down to 7. We activate our Aether Vial. We'll put our Flicker Wisp into play, target our own Tidehollow Sculler, and the end step we'll look at their hand. And we'll take Clothis. Now that was actually a punt. What we could have done is we could have Flicker Wisped the Blood Moon out, past the Bloodbraid Elf, and then in the next phase we could have cast Leonin Arbiter and taken them off a land. That was a punt. Opponent plays Utopia Sprawl and passes the turn. We draw another Vial, that's good. And we swing in for 5. Our opponent goes down to 2. And we pass the turn. And our opponent scoops. Alright, game 2. We go up a Spellskite and 2 Leonin Relic Wardens, and we take out 3 Leonin Arbiters. We get a no-lander with 2 Vials. We have to mulligan this. We still don't have a Vial. We have the Relic Warder. It's risky, but I'm going to keep. We'll put a Silent Clearing to the bottom. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills. Cracks it immediately. Forest. And plays Arbor Elf. We're going to play the Silent Clearing and pass. Opponent plays a Stomping Ground. Untapped. Plays a Utopia Sprawl on their Forest in response. We path the Arbor Elf. They pass the turn. On our turn we play a Godless Shrine, paying 2 life, take a damage from our Silent Clearing, and run out the Leonin Relic Water. Target the Utopia Sprawl. Ooh. Our opponent's stomping in response, but this doesn't work how they think it works. So what happens is, Relic Water leaves, the leave clause happens, and now its enter the battlefield clause happens, and the Utopia Sprawl is exiled forever. And we'll pass the turn there. Opponent plays a Windswept Heath. Runs out a Seasoned Pyromancer. Okay. Discards a Glory Bringer. Cracks the Windswept Heath for a Stomping Ground. Plays a Utopia Sprawl on their Forest. Choosing red. When we play the Ghost Quarter, we cast Leonin Relic Water again and take the Utopia Sprawl. And we pass the turn. Opponent swings in for 2 with the Seasoned Pyromancer. We take it down to 13. And they cast Pillage on our land. Could be in trouble. We'll let it go. Play a Concealed Courtyard. We're going to Wasteland Strangler. Targeting the Seasoned Pyromancer. We're going to process the Utopia Sprawl under our Relic Water. And then we will attack for 2. We pass the turn. Our opponent casts the Bone Crusher Giant and an Arbor Elf. We draw a Ghost Quarter. We cast Flicker Wisp. Target our Wasteland Strangler. We don't attack, and we go to our end step. Our Wasteland Strangler returns. We target the Bone Crusher Giant, and we'll put the Utopia Sprawl in their graveyard. Bone Crusher Giant down. And with that, we pass the turn. Our opponent plays another Arbor Elf, and passes the turn to us. We draw a Charming Prince. We swing in with a Flicker Wisp. They go down to 9, and we cast our Giver of Runes. We pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Misty Rainforest, and runs out the Glory Bringer. Might be in trouble. They exert the Glory Bringer. Okay, they target the Giver of Runes. We take 4 down to 7, and pass the turn. We draw another Wasteland Strangler. We cast Wasteland Strangler. We target the Arbor Elf with Wasteland Strangler's ability, sending the Arbor Elf in exile to their graveyard. And we swing in for 8. Our opponent blocks 3 of that damage and takes 5, down to 4. We pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Windswept Heath. And concedes the match. I had my doubts about the deck, but I'm really starting to turn around on it. Alright, we win the die roll, so we go first. I think this is a fine hand to keep. Alright, our opponent mulls to 5. We'll start on a Plains. And play out Aether Vial. And pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Scalding Tarn. Cracks it immediately. Gets a Stomping Ground. Shocks themselves. And suspends a Search for Tomorrow. And passes the turn. We tick up our Aether Vial. We draw Loris. Okay. Well, we'll play Tidehollow Scholar. Alright, the only card we can take is Transmogrify. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent plays a Stomping Ground tapped. And passes to us. We tick up our Aether Vial. We draw Leonin Arbiter. Well, we'll play Ghost Quarter. We will vial in our Leonin Arbiter. And we'll Ghost Quarter their stomping ground. Strip Mine engaged. We'll then attack them for 2. They take it down to 15. Search for Tomorrow Suspend counter comes off. They can't pay the 2 to search. Fizzles. They play a mountain. And they pass to us. We're going to keep Aether Vial on 2. Get another Aether Vial, okay. We'll play a Godless Shrine. Tapped. Swing in for 4. And in our second main, we'll play the second Aether Vial. And we'll pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Wooded Foothills. And passes to us. Opponent bolts Allosaurus Arbiter. Yep, we have to let that go. We will tick up both our Aether Vials. Our opponent cracks their Wooded Foothills. Gets a Cinderglade tapped. We draw another Allosaurus Arbiter. Okay. Well, we'll attack for 2. In our second main phase, we will cast Allosaurus Arbiter. And we will pass the turn. Our opponent does nothing and passes. We tick 1 vial up to 2. And we keep the second one on 3. We draw a Concealed Courtyard. We'll attack with our Tidehollow Sculler and Allosaurus Arbiter. For 4, we're going to play the Concealed Courtyard. We're actually keeping Loris hidden, so they don't know we're running it for game 2. We'll pass the turn there. Our opponent doesn't play a land and passes the turn. We say no to both our vials. Perfect, another Tidehollow Sculler, so we can try and see what's going on over there. Okay, they are a Through to Breach deck. Alright, and they scoop it up. Alright, against this deck, sideboarding pretty simple. The Lorises come out, and the Containment Priests come in. Alright, our opponent chooses to go first. We've got 2 lands, a Tidehollow Sculler and a Thalia. I think this is fine. Our opponent plays a mountain, and passes the turn. We draw a Silent Clearing. We're going to play our Shambling Vent, and pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Valakut tapped, and passes to us. Play the Swamp, and run out Thalia, and pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Dwarven Mine, comes into play tapped, they don't get the token. We play Silent Clearing, and we run out the Tidehollow Sculler. Oh dear. So if our opponent draws a land, we lose both our creatures, unless we take Anger of the Gods. But if we take Anger of the Gods, they just Lightning Bolt. So we're going to have to take Lightning Bolt, and hope they don't hit a land. Well, we take Lightning Bolt, go to combat, and attack with Thalia. They take 2 down to 18. If we can draw a Ghost Quarter, we're in a good chance. We pass the turn. Our opponent doesn't hit the land. We hit a Silent Clearing. Okay. Well, we'll play the Fetid Heath. We'll activate our Shambling Vent. And we'll get in for 6. Our opponent draws the land. Bloodstained Mire cracks. Gets the Stomping Ground. They now have access to their green mana. And they cast the Anger of the Gods. They exile our Tidehollow Sculler and our Thalia. They get back their Lightning Bolt. And they pass the turn to us. We draw another Wasteland Strangler. Not particularly helpful here. We crack the Silent Clearing to draw. We draw a Flicker Wisp. Not what I was hoping for. Well, we'll play another Silent Clearing. And we'll cast Allosaurus Arbiter. It is a Lightning Rod for that Lightning Bolt. But it does stop them casting Farseek as efficiently. They bolt Allosaurus Arbiter. And they cast Farseek. And get themselves a Snow-Covered Mountain. And they play a Wooded Foothills. So Through the Breach is online. They crack the Wooded Foothills for a Cinderglade. And they cast an Explore. They don't put a land into play. We crack the Silent Clearing to draw. We hit a Tidehollow Sculler. That's alright. We take the Titan and pass the turn. Our opponent casts Through the Breach. Puts an Emrakul into play. They attack us. Going to game 3, we're going to run Plague Engineer over 2 Wasteland Stranglers. We'll keep the rest the same. We get to go first. We get a good hand that can slow our opponent down and aggressively scry into our Containment Priests. I think we're going to keep. We'll play the Concealed Courtyard and pass the turn. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn and passes. Thalia. We'll play Ghost Quarter and run out Thalia. Opponent cracks the Scalding Tarn in response. Gets a Stomping Ground tap, and we pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire and passes to us. We draw an Aether Vial. We will run out the Aether Vial. Will we? Yeah, we're going to run out the Aether Vial, play our Silent Clearing, and attack with our Thalia for 2. Our opponent cracks the Bloodstained Mire, gets a basic mountain, and Lightning Bolts the Thalia. So this is a misplay. We should have gone straight to combat, and we should have attacked first. Then we could have played the Aether Vial for 1 mana, got a Charming Prince and Scryed. Now we don't get to do that. It's poor sequencing on my part. We pass the turn. Our opponent plays an Explore, they play a Mountain, and a Scalding Tarn. They crack the Scalding Tarn for a Cinderglade and cast Farseek and get a Stomping Ground tap. And they pass the turn. We tick up our Vial. I think we have to play Thalia. Tidehollow Sculler, rip something out of their hand is definitely an option, but I think we have to go Thalia so then next turn we can rip 2 things out of their hand. With the Aether Vial, Charming Prince, and Tidehollow Sculler. This is a more risky line, but we've got to hope it works. We play the Thalia. We pass the turn. Our opponent does nothing and passes the turn. Thalia did it. We tick our Aether Vial up to 2. We draw another Aether Vial, that's good. Well, we learned from last time. We're going to attack with Thalia first. In a main phase, we cast the Tidehollow Sculler, ability on the stack. We activate Aether Vial. We Aether Vial in our Charming Prince. Charming Prince, exile Tidehollow Sculler. Resolved. Awesome. We're going to get rid of Anger of the Gods forever. We'll go to our end step. We got to get rid of Primeval Titan and hope they don't draw the Emrakul for one more turn. We pass the turn. Our opponent casts a Farseek for 3. Gets a Stomping Ground. Okay. Passes to us. We tick our Aether Vial up to 3. We can use Flicker Wisp to flicker out whatever they get in. We draw another Flicker Wisp. Okay, that's really good. Well, we'll attack with all creatures. They take 6 down to 9. We cast Charming Prince. We'll exile another Charming Prince. We'll go to our end step. Charming Prince will return. We will scry 2. Containment Priest on top. Fantastic. We're going to keep Ghost Quarter on top just in case they get this Primeval Titan back so we can potentially destroy some Valakuts. Put Containment Priest on top. Oh no. We were meant to Flicker Wisp out of land. Anger of the Gods. So I suppose the question is, do we want to keep the Tidehollow Sculler? I think we do. I mean, they would have been able to do this anyway, but now we have the option. Right, we Vial in Flicker Wisp. Protect our Tidehollow Sculler. Flicker Wisp returns the Tidehollow Sculler. Okay. So they still don't have anything to deal with it. Well, we'll take the Primeval Titan again, and they pass the turn to us. We'll keep Aether Vial on 3. We'll play our new Aether Vial out on 1. We'll attack with our Tidehollow Sculler. And we'll pass the turn, keeping up Containment Priest. Opponent hard casts Primeval Titan. Okay. Valakut. We're going to Ghost Quarter the Valakut. They get their Primeval Titan back. That was a mistake. We should have flickered. End step, we will put in the Flicker Wisp. We need to try and kill them quickly. Flicker their mountain. We'll tick up 1 Vial. And we'll keep the other on 3. We draw a Ghost Quarter. That's alright. We'll attack them for 3. And we'll pass the turn. We have to hope they get fancy and try to through the breach or transmogrify into an Emrakul. Nope, they just hardcast the Primeval Titan. Get another Valakut, hey? Valakut our Flicker Wisp. Well, we're going to Ghost Quarter the Valakut, and our Flicker Wisp dies. They play an Arid Mesa. They go to combat, swing at us for 6. Get a Mountain. They're out of Valakuts, okay. We take 6, and they pass the turn. We tick 1 Aether Vial up to 2, and we keep the other on 3. We play a Concealed Courtyard, and we crack our Silent Clearing. Ghost Quarter. Chances of us winning are very low. Well, we'll pass the turn there. They go to combat and attack. Primeval Titan get. Bloodstained Mire and an Arid Mesa tap. Second Primeval gets. Wooded Foothills and a Bloodstained Mire. We Vial in our Containment Priest. We block a Primeval Titan. We go to 2. They cast Transmogrify. I think they're just bragging now. They get another Primeval Titan. They search for some more fetch lands. And they pass to us. I think it's Flicker Wisp or bust here. Actually, I don't think anything saves us. We'll have a look, see what happens. Nope. Thalia. Thalia doesn't do it. Alright, GG. Thanks for the game. That was frustratingly close. Just a few misplays, and I think that's what cost us. I think we had them. Oh well. Good game. Alright, we win the die roll. Go first. This hand looks fine. Opponent mulls to 6. Alright. I think we'll go Silent Clearing. Aether Vial. And we'll pass it there. Our opponent plays an Auntie's Hovel and casts an Inquisition of Kozilek. I believe we're against Goblins. Yep, they revealed Boggart Harbinger. I do not think we are fit to beat Goblins. They take our Giver of Runes. And they pass the turn. Tick up our Vial. Another silent clearing, eh? Well, we'll play that, and we'll run out Thalia. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Goblin, and they cast an Inquisition. Alright. So they're taking our Wasteland Strangler. Okay. They pass the turn, we tick up our Vial to 2, we draw another Wasteland Strangler. Well, that's good. We'll play the Godless Shrine tapped, and then we'll run out the Aether Vial. And then we'll swing for 2, and we'll pass the turn. Opponent plays the Wooded Foothills, casts the Snoop. Okay. Goblin Matron on top. They pass to us. We'll tick up. No. During our upkeep, they crack the Wooded Foothills. We get a Blood Crypt. Munitions Expert on top. Alright. Well, now that we know that, I still think we tick these both up. We draw the Ghost Quarter. Okay. I wonder how many basics they run. We're going to draw a card off our Silent Clearing. It's a Plains. Alright, well, we'll play the Plains. And we'll attack with our Thalia. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent casts the Munitions Expert. Targets our Thalia with the ability. We're going to crack our Silent Clearing and hope to hit a Flicker Wisp. We hit the Flicker Wisp. Very nice. Activate Aether Vial. And we'll put Flicker Wisp into play. Saving our Thalia. Another Munitions Expert. They kill our Flicker Wisp. Another line we could have taken is wait until the end step. Flicker Wisp out the Munitions Expert, and then next turn cast Wasteland Strangler targeting the Snoop. They attack us for 2. We take 2 down to 13. Flicker Wisp returns our Thalia. Alright, well, we'll pass the turn. We will tick up our small Aether Vial, and we will keep our other Aether Vial on 3. Another Wasteland Strangler. They have no cards in exile. Well, I think we have to attack, as they have no good blocks right now. We'll pass the turn. Opponent plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Goblin. Get the Boggart Harbinger. So chances are we are dead here. Boggart Harbinger searches up Kiki Jiki. Now if our opponent sees that they have the win here, so what they're going to do is they're going to keep creating tokens, and then they create enough tokens that they can sack them to one of their other goblins, and it just burns us out of life. I'll yield through and just let you see it. But yeah, that's definitely a misplay on our part, because if I'd Flicker Wisped, put Snoop into exile, and then I could have cast the Wasteland Strangler. Yeah, I put too much stock on Thalia. She wasn't really doing anything. Yep, they think they've got enough. They get the Boggart Harbinger copy. Sling Gang Lieutenant, which now they just start sacrificing stuff. And they'll just burn us to 0. Normally I'd concede, but just for people who haven't seen it. So yeah, that's how Goblins wins. Alright, to sideboard. Well, I suppose Plague Engineer naming Goblin, and Phyrexian Revoker naming Snoop. And what doesn't work? Thalia's not doing a lot. Yeah, I think we get rid of Thalia. Might go down a couple of X1s as well. Flicker Wisp is good, but not great. Yeah, maybe go up a couple of Forge Tenders. Pro Red's pretty helpful. Yeah, and even Spellskite can actually help stop the combo, I think. Yeah, so we got 1 Flicker Wisp. Yeah, we'll go up all the Flicker Wisps. We'll go down all the Flicker Wisps and we'll run the Burrington Forge Tenders. Alright, we'll run it back. It's upsetting because we had a way out. Alright, yes, I would like to play first. Yes, this is a perfectly fine hand. And the question is, do we Vial or do we Giver? They're more likely to have hand hate than they are to have removal on turn 1. I think we'll still go Vial. Being able to Vial in the Arbiter and potentially double Ghost Quarter them is just too good. We cast Aether Vial, and we'll pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire, and passes. Okay. Aether Vial ticks up. Concealed Courtyard. There's a chance they might be F6'd. No, I think Charming Prince Scry is the most appropriate. Yeah, they weren't F6'd. They crack the Bloodstained Mire. They get a Blood Crypt. Untapped. Oof. Down to 17. We're going to Scry 2. Don't think we care about the Swamp, but Charming Prince is good. Alright. And they Tarfire our Charming Prince in our end step. Okay. Well, we pass to them. They play and crack a Bloodstained Mire, play a Mountain, and play the Snoop. We get a Skirk Prospector on top of their library. Okay. In their end step, we will Vial in our Giver of Runes, tick Vial up to 2, play a Ghost Quarter, cast our Arbiter, and take them off black mana. And we'll pass the turn there. Ooh, they play the Auntie's Hovel. Oh dear. They play the Skirk Prospector. They've almost got the combo here. They play the Skirk Prospector. And they pass the turn. At the end of theirs, we'll activate Aether Vial. Put our Charming Prince into play. We're going to scry 2. Plague Engineer doesn't stop the combo, but it might make it more difficult for them. So I think we're going to keep it on top. And we're going to pass the turn there. Alright, we are going to tick Vial up to 3. And then we're going to play our Ghost Quarter. And we'll Ghost Quarter them off black again. We'll go to combat. We're going to attack them with 4. Our opponent chooses no blocks. They go down to 12. Do we do it now? I think we have to do it now. I think we can wait. We'll see what they draw. 2 in a row, hey? Okay. Play the Cavern of Souls. They choose Goblin. Yep, there's the Kiki Jiki. Alright. So we're going to Aether Vial. Opponent activates. This is all fine. Might just yield to this. For now, I don't think we can win from here. If we'd put the Plague Engineer in their upkeep, we would have been fine. We just have to hope they misplay. Doesn't look like they're going to. Well, they've got enough mana to do whatever they want. But I don't think they have a sack outlet. So now they get to tutor a Goblin to the top. And they keep the Kiki Jiki. Okay. Alright, they're just making an army of Goblins. They cast Kiki Jiki. They cast Goblin Matron. Goblin Matron dies. I think they broke the game. They even tutor for anything? I don't think they did. Or it hasn't even landed yet. No, they didn't. No, they didn't tutor for it. Alright. Fantastic. While we're alive, I don't think we deserve to be, but we are certainly alive. Alright, they pass the turn. We're going to keep our Aether Vial on 3. What do we draw? We draw a Wasteland Strangler. There's nothing currently in exile. That is a real pain. Well, might as well go to combat and attack for 6. They activate Kiki Jiki, make a Snoop copy. Snoop copy blocks our Plague Engineer, and they go down to 8. We pass the turn. Opponent casts an Aether Vial and passes the turn. Keep our Aether Vial on 3. Another Leonin Arbiter. Okay. Well, we will go to combat, attack for 6 again. Opponent copies the Snoop, blocks the Plague Engineer, takes 4. We will cast our Leonin Arbiter, and we'll pass the turn. Unearth on top of their library. Okay. Oh, we win. Fantastic. I think we keep it the same and run it back. No lander. We cannot keep a no lander. 2 lander. I think we'll keep this. It's not great, but I think we'll keep it. Tidehollow Skullo to the bottom. Alright, let's go. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills, cracks it, shocks in a Blood Crypt, and plays an Aether Vial. Okay. Hopefully no hand hate. We draw our own Aether Vial. Play Ghost Quarter, and cast Aether Vial. We pass the turn. Opponent ticks up their Aether Vial, plays a Swamp, casts another Aether Vial. Okay. And another Aether Vial. I'm very tempted to name Aether Vial with this Phyrexian Revoker. Would turn off our own Aether Vial, but might be worth it. And they pass the turn. We will tick up our Aether Vial. Get in the Tidehollow Skullo. Okay. We'll play the Shambling Vent tapped. We'll pass the turn. Opponent ticks up all their Aether Vials. Plays an Auntie's Hovel tapped. No Goblins in hand? Okay. We tick up our Aether Vial. Another Plague Engineer. Okay. Well, I think we activate our Aether Vial. Put in our Tidehollow Skullo. Tarfire Munitions Expert. Okay. Well, we will take a Tarfire, and we will pass the turn. Yep, they Tarfire our Tidehollow Skullo. Tempted to path it. Give myself a land. No, we'll save our path. They tick up their Aether Vials, and passes to us. We're going to tick up our Aether Vial. Another path, that's pretty good. I've still got the Tarfire, haven't they? I think we're just going to pass it there. They activate their Aether Vial. Okay. Boggart Harbinger comes into play. Okay. Puts a Goblin Matron on top of their library. Okay. We pass to them. Draw another pass. No, we don't. It's their draw step. Alright. Well, we'll go into their main. They activate the Vial. Goblin Matron goes and gets another Goblin Matron. Okay. So then Goblin Matron goes and gets a Snoop. Opponent attacks for 2. Okay. Hoping for a land here. Oh, they activate Vial. Okay. Ooh. We're in trouble. Well, we'll activate our Aether Vial. Yes. We'll put a Plague Engineer into play. And we'll name Goblin. Opponent Tarfires our Plague Engineer. That's fine. because then we path your Snoop. Skirk Prospector resolves. And now it's our turn. I'm going to keep 8th Vial on 3, I think. There's the land. Going to name Kikijiki Mirror Breaker with our Phyrexian Revoker. I think we might pass the turn there. Opponent swings for 1. No blocks. Ends their turn there. Okay. Keep our 8th Vial where it is. Play out a Giver of Runes. Swing in for 2. Opponent Vials in. Skirk Prospector. Targets the Giver. There's just Kikijiki in hand. So, in response, we'll name Goblin with our Plague Engineer. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. Kikijiki still in hand. Gets a Blood Crypt tapped. Passes the turn. Play our Concealed Courtyard. We'll attack for 4. Opponent down to 10. We'll pass the turn. Opponent plays another 8th Vial. And a Cavern of Souls. Naming Goblin. Oh, they didn't have a Kikijiki in hand. And they concede the match! I don't think we deserved to win, but we won. Okay, we lose the die roll. Look, it's not great, but I'm going to keep... Opponent also keep 7. Do they? No, they mulligan down to 5. Wow. Botanical Sanctum untapped. We draw another Plains. Not terrible. We'll play a Plains, and we'll just pass it there. Waterlogged Grove. Okay. Hopefully no counter. Let's see if we can't figure out what's going on over there. Okay. So the Veil of Summer. Okay. Interesting. Serum Visions. Still no land. Okay. They pass the turn to us. Another Tidehollow Sculler. Do we want to have another go at it? We'll attack with the first one. Yeah, we'll go to our second main. And we're just going to Flicker Wisp the first one. End phase, Tidehollow comes back. Okay. Ah, Allosaurus Rider combo. Okay. Okay. So they're just waiting on the last land. So if we take Allosaurus Rider, they can still get another Allosaurus Rider, can't they? May have just cost ourselves the game. Yeah. Ugh. Alright, we'll pass the turn. Hopefully they don't draw the land this turn. Summon is packed. Yep. Allosaurus Rider. Oh, they've got the Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, no, they're going to do it. Oy. That was a mistake. Should have got the Eldritch Evolution. They cast Allosaurus Rider, paying the cost. They Eldritch Evolution it. Grizzlebrand. They draw 7. Nourishing Shoal. They gain 15. It's very unlikely they fizzle from here. They play a Gemstone Mine. Draw another 7. Draw another 7. Play another Nourishing Shoal. Play another one. Okay. Well, it is very unlikely they fizzle. Nigh impossible. I'm going to say it's impossible now. They Noxious Revival. Nourishing Shoal back on top of its owner's library. They Noxious Revival. A Noxious Revival to the top of their owner's library. Draw another 7. Draw another 7 down to 15. Draw another 7. Exile their Simian Spirit Guides. Draw another 7. Draw another 7. Manamorphose. And Thassa's Oracle gets them the win. Disgusting. Yeah, we took the wrong card. The sideboard. Phyrexian Revoker. Okay. So we got Phyrexian Revoker and Containment Priest. What are we going down? Well, we can go down Loris. Go down Loris and a couple of Wasteland Stranglers. And we'll run it back. We'll play first. We're going to mulligan this. Yeah, we'll keep 6. We will put Plains to the bottom. Opponent plays a Leyline of Sanctity. Fair enough. Well, we will play an 8th Vial. And pass the turn. Okay. Opponent reveals a Chancellor of the Tangle. Doesn't use the mana. And passes the turn. We will tick up our 8th Vial. Phyrexian Revoker, hey? Well, we'll play a Concealed Courtyard. Our opponent has no lands. And we'll cast Thalia, Guardian of Freeban. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent draws plays a Gemstone Mine. Okay. They pass the turn. We will tick up our 8th Vial. Oh, we draw the land. Lovely. We will cast Flicker Wisp. Exile the Leyline of Sanctity. Activate our 8th Vial. Put a Tidehollow Sculler into play. And let's look at our opponent's hand. Our opponent scoops it up. Lovely. Might ditch a Wasteland Strangler for a Spellskite. It's unlikely, but just in case they have any removal, we don't want them getting their cards back in their hand. We'll run it back like that. One lander, but with Tidehollow Sculler and Silent Clearing, Containment Priest. Oh, it's risky, but I want to keep. I want to keep. If we draw the land, we can just hold open Containment Priest. How do they beat that? Cast things honestly. Opponent mulls to 5. Gets a Chancellor of the Tangle. Plays a Waterlogged Grove. Oh, passes. 8th Vial. Exactly what we wanted to see. Our opponent goes through their entire turn. Passes back to us. 8th Vial ticks up. Right. Well, we are also on one land. But I think our land 8th Vial works much better then they're one lander. They play the gemstone mines, they've got the second land. In their end step, put a Giver of Runes into play. We're going to tick Aether Vial up to 2. Oh, we get the land as well. Love it. Well, we will cast the Giver of Runes, and we'll just attack for 1. And we'll pass to our opponent. Opponent casts a Pyroclasm. Do we want to save one of our Giver of Runes? Now, if we hadn't attacked, we could have saved both. I think we'll save one. It's obvious they want them gone. So we Aether Vial in the Charming Prince. Pyroclasm resolves, destroys our creatures. At the end step, Charming Prince brings back Giver of Runes. Opponent passes the turn. Going to keep Aether Vial on 2. Alright, we're going to stop on our opponent's draw tap, and we're going to see what's going on. We won't attack. Pass the turn, opponent casts Summoner's Pact. It's an Allosaurus Rider. Alright, they're casting the Allosaurus Rider. They Eldritch Evolution. We activate Aether Vial. We put Leonin Arbiter into play. And our opponent scoops up the match. Didn't even need Containment Priest. But we had it. It's good that we had it, but we didn't need it. Damn. So Black-White Taxes went 4-1. I'm chuffed. I honestly thought, like, so many cards, like Leonin Arbiter, I thought had its day. But just in some matchups, he's just brutal. Thalia, again, in some matchups, you get it down early enough, you just slow them down a turn. I mean, this is Taxes 101 stuff, and I'm honestly surprised it still worked in this league. I am so impressed with the way the deck performed, honestly. I am legitimately blown away. There were some things that I thought were disappointing. Not even disappointing, just underwhelming. Wasteland Stranglers, very good and very powerful card. Probably would have won as our first game against Goblins. Did we use them correctly with the Flicker Wisp? But yeah, ultimately there's just not enough ways to exile our opponent's stuff. There's Path to Exile, Tide Hollow Scholar, and Flicker Wisp. That's it. Which maybe that's enough. There's only 4 of these. No, I certainly feel more Eldrazi cards, even if it was just Displacer, would have been enough. Straight up swap the Displacer in for these Lorises. It's a very powerful card, but we're not running any Mishra's Baubles. We're not running any dead weights or anything that we can just use to get immediate value out of the Loris. So I don't see it as necessary. It is fun. It is definitely fun bringing back a Giver of Runes or a Leonin Arbiter. I think we did that once in the league after they board wiped us, which was pretty impressive. Now the sideboard definitely needs some work. I don't think I'd ever bring in Gonti. That cost is too high for this deck. But Plague Engineer, fantastic against tribal decks. I get that's what the card's designed to do, but even that exceeded my expectations. Phyrexian Revoker, that was a house. That beats Goblins. So that comes in against Goblins. That comes in against Grizzlebrand. Came in against Ad Nauseam. It's great. I do not like Kunaros, the Hound of Athreos. It just doesn't do enough. I'd rather have Kaya or Rest in Peace. It stops creature cards in graveyards from entering the battlefield, and your opponents can't cast spells from graveyard. But it's 3 mana for a creature. You can vial it in response to them trying to cast a creature card from graveyard or trying to reanimate a creature, but honestly, I would rather a 2 mana Rest in Peace. Containment Priest. The reason I chose this list is it had Containment Priest. Didn't have it main, which I thought all Death and Taxes decks would now have it main and switch from flickering your own stuff to flickering your opponent's stuff, but no, in the sideboard it was great. Came in a couple of matchups. I didn't even get the effect off once, but just having it there allowed us to play a much better game. And it certainly made the Arbiter a more viable option later because we could vial in the Arbiter, and if they miraculously had a way to kill it in the Grizzlebrand game, then we would just flash in Containment Priest, and that would exile the Grizzlebrand. The deck needs a lot of work. I won't lie, it needs a lot of work, but I'm very happy with where it is as a starting point. But look, the deck's been great. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, have fun.